Yay Media Group.
Hello, welcome to Weekly Dose of BS. I forgot how we intro this thing because I don't have my co-host here this week. Stephanie, I know we've talked about this, I think a little bit over the last few weeks. Stephanie's grandma unfortunately passed yesterday. Her and her sister and her cousin were flying to Oklahoma, and she passed right before they landed, but she has spent a lot of time there over the last few weeks. She actually drove down there on her birthday and spent her birthday with her grandma. So she is going to be there for a little bit, just handling all of the family affairs that she has kind of going on over the next few weeks. So please join us in praying for her and her family. I know this is an incredible loss for her. So our hearts go out to her. But in the meantime, the show must go on, and that is why I have my lovely co-host, Mr. Zachary Luker Stewart, here with me today.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Zachary.
Hello.
Now listen, this is a gift and a nightmare all in one, because I brought this idea up to Zach
Only a nightmare for you.
Yep. I brought this up to Zach a few weeks ago, whenever we kind of just thought that Stephanie's grandma was going to pass. I was like, hey, I might need you to step in as co-host. And he was like, great. I actually have a list of corrections that I need to make of things that I've said on the podcast over the last however long it's been. We had a podcast called the Mr. Podcast, and we did that when we were planning our wedding, and he loved it. I didn't, because people always sided with him, and then I was like, we're done doing that. But he's back.
Here we are.
Thanks for being here.
I didn't bring my list today, though, so you get off this one easy.
Goodness. I am excited you're here, though, because there is something that I have not told you all. And he has told me not to tell you until we were both ready to tell you. So we have something to tell you.
Well, it's also not that I haven't been ready.
Well, it's just, yeah,
there have been other formalities that have had to go into things.
I come on here and I just like word vomit about my week, because that's just what Stephanie and I do. And we forget that people watch this, like, or listen to it, or however you consume. You just like doesn't resonate with us, because for us it's just two microphones, some cameras, producer, and we're just going at it. And then people message us and they're like, the things you said last week. I'm like, what was it? So I've been very careful, which is not fun, about keeping something from you, but I feel like I've been doing just that. I've been keeping something from you. So there's something I have to say. Zach, what do I have to say?
Oh, I was like, are you going to say? If it's something you have to say, it sounds like you should say it.
You say it.
Well,
we're having a baby.
Well, yes. We're starting the process. Nobody's pregnant yet.
We're pretty much in the process. So here's the situation.
Yeah, I'm like,
Mom,
don't freak out yet. Nobody's pregnant yet.
No one's pregnant yet. So we have been going through the surrogacy process for the past... what? I don't know. Since like
2-3 months?
Oh, it feels like a year and a half.
It hasn't been, but
maybe it's only been a few months. So a few months ago, well, we've talked about having a baby for a long time. But there are so many pieces to this that I just don't understand. And I'm almost relating it to like buying a house. Like whenever we bought our first house, I didn't understand who was emailing me, what they wanted, how much money they needed, or any of that stuff. But now that I'm in real estate, I understand it more. And surrogacy has been exactly that same situation, where there are so many people involved and so much cost. I think what initially surprised us was how much it cost to have a baby. Listen, I know it's expensive to have children, but when you're not the one having the child, oh my gosh.
Well, and it's also very like variable. You know, it's not like you go walk into a store and say, oh yeah, a child's $100 across the board.
Well, that's how the straight people do it. They walk into a club and they're like, you, and they take someone home, and then like that's it.
But like the overall cost of, having a child in our situation is very variable.
Yeah.
Just depends on literally so many different things on not only us, but then the surrogate, the egg donor, et cetera. So,
and Zach and I have talked about, like, do we want to bring back the Mr. podcast to like share, because there's just so much that we've learned and so much that we didn't know that I want to share with you. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because honestly, I don't want opinions. I don't want opinions on how we're having the baby, what we're doing with it, none of that. Don't want opinions on it. So I was like, no. But I do want to share our experience with you for someone like us that might be listening to this that just doesn't know how to do or what goes into it. So initially, kind of what we found, just I'll go through all this with you, cost. So average cost of having an egg donor, having a surrogate, going through the whole process is about $250,000. It's about $250,000 is what you're expected. I've heard from other people, and Stephanie knows someone that's gone through the similar situation, and they've spent, and this was kind of just IVF, I think, that they went through. They've spent almost $1 million trying to have a baby. So we don't have $1 million to have a baby. So that's where we were like, this isn't like in the very near future. And then just through a series of events, we had a family friend that is willing to be our surrogate. So we were like, okay, now that we have a surrogate, we kind of need to get things moving. So then we got
Well, I guess
started.
let's go through the process of that. Like what, we didn't just wake up and have a surrogate. You know, we had to like go through the vetting process and all that. And
Yes. We went
and met her.
We went and met the surrogate. And initially we were talking to her about, she was willing to be the egg donor and the surrogate. And I was like, this is like the way straight people do it. And so we were like, this is going to save us so much money. Well, in Texas, after we got on the phone with lawyers and started consulting with them and going over all that stuff, we found out that if you are the egg donor and the carrier of the child.
Which is like true in, I think, and don't quote me on this, I think it's like 45 or 47 states. Like
Is it?
It wasn't just Texas. It's very common, but obviously because we're in Texas, that is.
Changes things. Yeah. So it would not be a surrogacy, it would be an adoption.
Correct.
And with an adoption, there's nothing protecting the surrogate from, if something were to happen to us, that person is now stuck with a baby.
Which is also very interesting too, because there's so many different terms that are used, that there's like layman terms, and then
gestational carrier.
There's gestational carrier and intended parents versus biological parents versus all, just different terms. And so halfway through all these conversations, I'm like, wait, what does that word mean? Or are we talking about the same thing? Which has also been interesting too, because we'll get to that part in a minute about names. But anyway.
Oh yeah, so we met the surrogate and learned that it would be an adoption if we used her egg, which we didn't want to go with that route because there's nothing from protecting her if something were to happen to us, but there's also nothing protecting us if she were to be like, I actually want this baby, or I'm going to sue you for child support. Like that's like a real thing.
Right.
So then we started diving into the egg donor route. So I think this was not the hardest part, but it's kind of difficult because you are literally flipping through catalogs, and there's a bunch of different egg donor banks that you can choose through. Zach never actually went through them.
I did not, no.
No. Is it because I didn't share the passwords with you, or was that intentional?
I cannot answer that for you. You'd have to be the one to answer that. But no, you never shared the passwords with me. So yeah, it's kind of like when we bought our house. I was like, oh, okay, this is the one. This is our egg donor. It's a good thing I like her, but
Yep. Well, interesting. I'm just thinking that through now.
So I can't wait to come back. I'll have to bring my list. This would be one of those times I add this to the list of things that I, just.
I'm already over this episode. So we selected an egg donor. Here's the thing. Zach would overanalyze every single egg donor on this list. The agency that we ended up going with, I really like their model because basically we select an egg donor. The egg donor is not compensated, but how they are compensated is these are women that want to freeze their eggs, but freezing your eggs is really expensive. It's like $25,000 to $35,000. It's a lot. And that's just not feasible. I mean, even just thinking about like, that's not something that we could immediately invest into our family planning. So with this model, we are essentially paying for the IVF process for this person, but we get to keep half the eggs. I think the reason that we liked this is because you're then not donating your eggs because you need to pay for like college tuition, which nothing wrong with that.
You're going into it with more heart.
Yes,
I think you
have
not ulterior motives, but you have
money motivated. Yeah. So I liked that more because it felt like there were different intentions going into it. And even we got to have a Zoom call with our egg donor last week, and just hearing that's was our first question, was like, why are you doing this? And she just said, I'm almost to the age where it would be considered a geriatric pregnancy, which is over the age of, is it 34 or 35? I think it was 34.
But yeah, I'd be lying. It's something like that, yes.
And something we found out, too, was that a lot of these, what are they called? Surrogacy centers? Not surrogacy center. Whatever, pregnancy centers won't accept
fertility
eggs.
Clinics?
Fertility clinics. They won't accept eggs from anyone over the age of 32. And we have a lot of people in our life that were very graciously willing to give us their eggs, but they had aged out of being able to do so. So we learned, I think, first and foremost, just on the female side, how difficult it is.
And also not to discourage anybody. It doesn't mean that if you're over 32, 34, whatever, that you can't have a child or that you can't do this process. The agency that we are choosing to work with has a baby guarantee. And I think the only way that they can give that baby guarantee is by being selective on the age.
Well,
and so as opposed to if they just accepted, and I don't mean this negatively whatsoever, but if they were to accepted anybody's eggs, there's less chance of guaranteeing a successful pregnancy or even retrieval, etc. So I think it's trying to produce the best outcome.
I mean,
but that doesn't mean that over a certain age that you can't or you wouldn't be successful.
No, I'm not saying you wouldn't be successful if you did IVF, but there is no fertility clinic, because I called them all. I literally called all of them in the state of Texas, and they will not accept eggs from anyone over the age of 32, because there was someone that we were like, we really want your eggs. You're real pretty, and wouldn't do it. So that, I think, was the first thing that kind of surprised us. But we had this call with our egg donor last week, and it was kind of weird, because at first we were like, what do we say to you? And they send you like these conversation starts. Listen, I can talk to a wall. I'm talking to a camera right now. So I can talk to anyone. I was like, I don't know what to ask you. But so our first question was, why are you doing this? And it was very much in line with what I was just saying, that she wants to have a baby, but she really doesn't want to have a baby for another 5 years. And in those 5 years, her likelihood of having a live birth on the first shot decreases substantially. So she was like, I want to have a baby. I just don't want to have a baby now, but the cost of IVF or freezing my eggs is very expensive. So it's been nice. I think I'm very much a why person. Like, I like to know why things work the way they do, why people do the things they do. Like, Zach will tell you this. I ask questions all day long, and it drives him nuts. But I just wanted to know the why, because I think I'm noticing that in myself, I'm already being overprotective, and I'm starting to see things through a child's eyes. And, you all fuck up your kids in one way or another. And I'm already starting to think of the ways that we fucked up our kids. And they're not even, out of the egg carton yet. So we've been very meticulous in kind of how we've moved in this, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, it's been it's a weird process, because when you're finding an egg donor, I know more about this person than half of you listening knew about your partner prior to having a child.
Way more than half. Probably 99% of you currently know about your partner.
Yeah, which is just interesting. Like, I
know more about this girl than I know about him. Like, I know all of it. And we've since sent him to be checked, and I will know all about him very soon. Should have done that. It's almost like an inspection. Like, they go through like your genetics and like everything. I know her grandparents' medical history, whether she had braces, if she's creative, blah blah blah. So it was just it's very fascinating to know what goes into that. Something that we learned in the state of Texas, and this isn't every fertility clinic, but because Texas is a no abortion state, there's a lot more testing that goes into the embryos now. So we will know 90% of our baby's genetic features before they're even transferred. Is that what they call it?
Well, I mean, we have the option to know in a sense.
No. Well, I
Like,
guess we don't have to know.
Correct, right.
But they do require that the egg be tested, one, for the baby's health, two, for the surrogate's health, just to make sure there's nothing that could go wrong that could take her life. So it's been very interesting. So where we're at now is we have our surrogate. She's kind of on ice, waiting for everything to get moving. We have our egg donor. We should have eggs in between 4 to 6 months. Now, Zach is more patient than I, and Zach told our egg donor this the other day. If I could have a baby in my arms in 2 days, I would, because that's just how I operate in life. Zach is a little more thoughtful with things. So I am practicing patience, and God bless the lady that is our intermediary between the egg donor and us, because I ask a lot.
What are some of the questions you ask?
Well, I was just I want a timeline. I want expectations of when are things getting done. I just want a clear picture, because I'm also thinking when our baby's born, what their geology sign? What's that? No, their horoscope. I wonder what their horoscope's going to be, because that's going to tell me a lot about them. Because if they're a Scorpio, I know exactly what I'm in for. If they're an Aquarius, I know exactly what we're in for. Anything else, I got to figure out in the meantime. So, but I'm reminding myself that I don't need to rush this, because once we have a baby, we don't ever then not have a baby. Then we always have a child. So I'm practicing.
But also remember too that 99.99% of people aren't going into having a child going, oh, I can't wait to have a Scorpio baby or an Aquarius baby, or they don't. That's not how that's working.
Well, I'm also looking at our family birthday calendar, and May's a really busy month for us. May wouldn't work. I don't want to have a baby in June or July, because a summer baby's never they just don't get to have a good birthday party. August, we could do late August. September's ideal. The weather's good. I'm just thinking this is going to impact the rest of their life.
Yes and no. I mean, but it just is what it is, If we have a child in the summer, I can still throw a badass birthday party for the child.
Friends are on vacation.
You know what? Then we'll find new friends.
That's sad.
We'll make it work. I'm not. Yes, there are things to think about, but
I'm thinking through the important things.
Right. Me too.
Yes. So we should have eggs, theoretically, in 4 to 6 months. I'm shooting for 3.5 to 4. My question was why? Why can't we just shouldn't we be able to get these in 6 weeks? That seems fair to me. But there's so much testing that goes in on the front end. It's actually kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, it's
reasonable.
Good. Yeah, no, it's interesting too, and I'm excited to either come back or just have Trey share more, because there's so many questions and unknowns, and there's so many steps into this process. But I will say, while it can be scary, I'm currently waiting for all my genetic testing results. Who knows what's going to come back from that? Truly, no idea. And, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it is also, I'm holding on to the comfort of it, of going into it knowing if I, God forbid, find out that there's some genetic something in here. At least I know that going into it, and you can kind of then plan for it versus just waiting, 20, 30, 40 years. And it's oh, look at this. This is a new discovery.
I feel like you think that you are a Rolls Royce with a 1994 Corolla engine in it. You're just not really sure what's under the hood, but you're planning for the worst, but hoping for the best. Do you think there's something wrong with you?
Who knows?
I have no concerns on this end.
Yep. I mean, once you do your testing, you'll find out too.
Interesting. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next 4 months, is figuring out what we got. And then, hopefully, my goal was to have a positive pregnancy by July. That's not going to happen. But now our goal is to have a positive pregnancy test by Christmas, which we've already shot our 2025 Christmas card. And I'm not
2024.
Yeah. And we're not changing it. So we'll have to do like an addendum to our Christmas card.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if we're pregnant by that time, then I'm sure that the card will change. But
we have a really great picture.
Speaking of, I hope that...
we were supposed to sign that and send that back.
I hope that Megan and Joey, I hope y'all had a fabulous wedding.
We still
in
have your
St. Augustine, Florida.
We still have your wedding.
Congratulations
invitation.
again.
When is that?
It was this past weekend.
Was it? Oh my gosh, congrats.
Yeah, so I hope you guys had a fabulous wedding.
We meant to send a gift. Sorry.
You still can.
Yeah.
They're on their honeymoon right now, so it's...
Okay. Oh, I hope it's something fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, just know that we have you right here and we look at it.
So congrats, Megan and Joey.
Every week that we come in. Well, so that's really our baby update. It's not really an update. It's just we're having a baby. Or we should have a baby. Or a positive pregnancy
have
test
a baby
by
at some point.
Christmas.
We're not setting any timelines on it. We're letting God do his thing, and
we are, and I have just a rolling calendar that me and God are watching. So that's how that's going.
It is rolling every day.
Other thing so we were talking about just kind of cost on everything. So we discussed kind of what the IVF process costs if you go through surrogacy and egg donor. We're not paying for eggs through the company or the agency that we're using.
Well, we are paying for eggs.
We are paying for eggs, but we're not compensating the egg donor.
Correct.
I think what's also surprised me is just outside of like obviously us having to do all this, the cost of raising children in Dallas, and I'm not even talking about like buying them like Gucci shoes, the cost of private school, because when you live in Dallas, if you don't go to HP ISD, Lakewood ISD, or Highland Park ISD, so if you're not paying $3+ million for a house, you're sending your kid to private school more than likely, right? What?
HP ISD and then Highland Park ISD.
I thought I said UPISD.
Okay.
I meant
anyway.
to say UPISD.
I won't be invited back.
You're sending your kid to private school. Zachary, do you know how much it costs to send your kid to first grade to throw blocks at another kid?
Probably about 50 or 60.
Okay, well, you shot high, so that's going to make this sound low. About $40,000.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how people have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also thinking about my life, and I'm like, do we make sacrifices?
Yes, that's exactly what parenthood is.
Or do we just make more money?
Well, both. You have to sacrifice your time to make more money.
Yeah, no, I can say,
Right. There's a lot. A lot is going to change.
Trust me, Trey is in full baby prep mode.
Mm-hmm. Prepping for the last vacation before the baby, prepping for...
Yeah. Oh, I've thought about that. We can't travel after a certain point next year. So I'm like, we got to get it all in now.
Yeah, I come home every day, and Trey asks me what the next vacation that we're going on is. And I'm like, I am so unconcerned about a vacation right now that...
I just booked what will probably be our last vacation. And it's going to be 14 days. And it's going to be in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda.
Well, yeah, it goes to Italy, but...
Ish. Well, this has stressed me out. So thanks for listening. Again, prayers for Stephanie and her family.
Yes.
She might be back next week. She might not. If she's not, I'll still be here. You can follow me on Instagram at Trey_Stewart.
You can follow me on Instagram at Zach_Luker.
And you can follow our podcast at BS the Podcast, or you can watch us on YouTube at Weekly Dose of BS. Bye.
Yay Media Group.